Good day, cohort XII, and welcome to today's class, 19th August 2023. It's already 5:01, so we are just going to give 5 more minutes for others to join in, and then we kickstart. Thank you very much. Okay, good evening, everyone. Once again, this is 5:05, and our facilitator is already in class. So I'm just going to give a brief introduction. Okay, we're still going to give 5 more minutes to those still joining in. So before then, I'm just going to run through some instructions. So you have to go through the Telegram group and follow all messages dropped there, and take note of time for classes, assignments, and follow all instructions on the Telegram group, because every instruction there or every message passed across there, it's very important, and to help you through the class session. Thank you very much. Okay, so I'm going to read the bio of our facilitator, the DED of the college, DED Politeracy, Lisa Hassan Bello. Lisa Hassan Bello is a girl child advocate and a political enthusiast, a graduate of biochemistry with a PhD in psychology. She has worked with several reputable organizations in Nigeria, including Heritage Banking Company, Dan Hausawa Media Nigeria, and Ray Power FM. She is currently the co-founder of Speak Media Company, a company that offers consultancy and publishing services. She is also the founder of Walk Against Rape and Sexual Abuse, a non-profit organization dedicated to helping victims of rape and sexual abuse. Her work with the Electoral College spans across 3 years and has translated in the political education of over 9,000 persons. She currently serves as the college deputy executive director of Politeracy. Wumi Hassan Bello is an avid reader, writer, and lover of God. She's happily married and blessed with 2 energetic young stars. So, ladies and gentlemen, our facilitator for today's class, Mrs. Wumi Hassan Bello. Welcome, ma'am.
Oh, my apologies. I was muted. Please confirm that you can hear me. Hi, Charlie. Am I audible?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, awesome. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Politeracy 101, the Politeracy and Governance course by Electoral College Nigeria. So this is to officially welcome you all. My name is Wumi Hassan Bello. I'm the DED Politeracy, and it's a pleasure to have you all. This is the 12th cohort for XII, and we're very glad to have you this evening. Okay, so before I start,
okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
Oh, okay, awesome. So before I start, I just want to run through some of the rules so we familiarize ourselves with it before the course, so we know what to expect and how to get the best out of the course. So the classes will hold Fridays to Sundays, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, 5 p.m. every weekend. So we're all expected to be logged in. I'm sure all of us have downloaded our Zoom and make sure that that time slot is free, 5 to 7 p.m. at the maximum. Also, Wednesdays will be for assignments, yeah, and you'll also be grouped into political parties during the course of the week, and every other activity that you're going to carry out will be within the confines of that political party. So it's very important that as the list is posted, as the different political parties are posted, please locate your group and join it. If you're not in a political party, it's assumed that you're not part of this course. So please, that is very important. Make sure you join your political party as soon as you see your name on the list. Also, it is very important that you know that you need at least 75% of attendance for you to have a certificate at the end of this course. You need 75% attendance and 80% of assignments. So participation is mandatory. This is not just a course I just signed up for and you just, show up once in a while. No, if you don't participate fully, you're not going to get certified at the end of the course. Also, during the political parties, when you're shared into political parties, it's going to be like a simulation of real life political parties. You're going to have elections, you're going to have debates, you're going to have campaigns and all that. So make sure you give your best, make sure you participate fully. For the debates, whoever is debating, make sure that your camera is on. We're saying the rules now so that when you get penalized, for breaking any of them, it won't come as a shock. So please, your cameras have to be on when you're campaigning, during your debates, okay? Also, okay, I think those are majorly the rules. And for the Zoom meetings, please make sure you use your full name on your Zoom. Let it be your full name because that is what we're taking attendance with. If you're using a nickname or you're using iPhone, your Zoom name is just within iPhone. We don't know who you are. So please make sure that your Zoom name reflects your name. And when you sign in, always sign in with your full names, like you want it to appear on your certificates. So those are some of the ground rules. Any other rule, of course, as we go on, as we progress, you get to know about it. So once again, you're welcome to Politeracy 101. On behalf of the Electoral College, on behalf of the board, I welcome you this evening. And I assure you it's going to be an awesome experience. It's going to be an enlightening experience. You're going to know things that, a lot of myths are going to be debunked. A lot of things that you thought you knew about politics, you're going to have a refresher on it. It's going to be, a totally different ball of game. So I'll advise you all to keep an open mind. Keep an open mind. Be here to learn, and be here to learn indeed. Okay, so straight into our topic. Chalia, could you please share the slides for me? Chalia, are you there? Please, can I have the slide?
Okay.
Thank you. No, it is in the background somewhere. So I'm recognizing the presence of our Electoral College Executive Director, Mr. Kunle Lawal. I'm sure you'll probably speak at the end of the class, or we'll get to meet him in subsequent classes. So good evening, Edie, and good evening, every other person part of the college that is joining this evening. Chalia, are you having challenge with the slides? Hello, Charlie, are you there?
Yes, I'm trying to.
Okay.
Share from my end here.
So good evening, everyone. My name is Kunle Lawal. I'm the Executive Director of the Electoral College Nigeria. In the time Charlie is trying to get up the slides, it's of course my pleasure from the board. Lisa, of course, has welcomed you. Lisa is the Deputy Executive Director, Politeracy. It's a pleasure to have Lisa take this course. So this is a basic introduction. This is a walk through the class. She's gone over the rules and made clear that our purpose is to educate, and politeracy means directly political literacy. I would like to state clearly in unequivocal terms that the college is ready to graduate two people if two people meet its criteria. We will not bend on our rules. I'm making that clear from the beginning. And this is not to threaten you. It's just to let you know that we're very serious with the work that we do. I'd like to welcome you to the college. College, of course, is non-partisan. So it's okay for you to be partisan and be here, but your lecturers will be cut across political parties. So it's okay, but within the college, we do not entertain partisan behavior. And, it's okay to ask questions because you want to know, but do not try to push a partisan or a non-Nigerian perspective. The code of the college is love for country, and we stick very well to that code. So even in your conversations within your groups, there should be respect, amiable discussions between people. It's okay to debate. You must remember that the basic law for freedom of expression is the freedom of expression is guaranteed as long as it does not infringe on the freedoms of expressions of others. So thank you very much. I'll hand over back to Lisa. Thank you, everyone, and welcome to the 12th cohort.
Thank you very much, Edie, our very amiable Executive Director, Mr. Kunle Lawal. We're going to take us on some very interesting classes as the course progresses. Yeah, so we're going to hear from him now. Okay, so straight into the topic. Chalia, thank you. Please, can I have the first slide? So we're looking at introduction to politeracy and governance. That's what this course is about, and it's going to cut across a lot of topics. We're going to look at the role of media, the fourth estate in a democracy. We're going to look at advocacy. We're going to look at youth participation. It's a well-rounded course. It's a full course. It's a full course. But today we're just going to take the peripheral, just the intro. And as the course progresses, we dig deep into the different aspects of politeracy and governance. So first, what is politeracy? Sorry, the slides are quite far from me here, so I'll just use them from here. It's the education of the electorate on governance systems and processes so that they know what to demand of elected officials. So basically, politeracy is educating you and I. We are the electorate, right? So politeracy is educating the electorate so that they know what to expect and what to demand of elected officials. It's that simple. And that's what this course is about. So we're here to tell you what you should know, what you should demand, what you should expect, right? So that's what politeracy is in simple terms. I'm sure that's so easy. Please, the next slide, Shalia. Yes, so methods propagating politeracy. The first one is formal education, which is a similitude of what we're doing this evening. That's the essence of this course, to politically enlighten the electorate, to politically enlighten the average Nigerian in the street, right? So that's the education. That's one method of propagating politeracy. The second method is culture. Culture is a very strong avenue for propagating politeracy. A lot of our beliefs, a lot of what we know about politics stem from culture, a lot of it. For example, a lot of Nigerians assume that you can only run for an office in your state of origin, which is not correct. As a Nigerian, you have the right to run anywhere in any parts of Nigeria, right? But our culture has imbibed it in us that if you're a Yoruba person, for instance, you cannot go to Katsina and say you want to run there, right? Yeah, so culture plays a very important role in propagating politeracy. And then the third one, we have political parties. Like Edie will always say, the vehicle to elected office is a political party. That is the only vehicle really to an elected office in Nigeria. We do not have the independent candidates yet. So what you do have is political parties. And for participating in a political party, a lot of us are probably not in political parties, but at the end of this course, I'm sure you're going to see the importance of why you need to join a political party. It's not enough to just be a voter. It's not enough just to have your PVC. Participation starts from you actually belonging to a political party, because it's one of the methods of causing a change. It's one of the methods of making sure that you're part of the process, you're part of the governance, you're part of politics. And that's why we advise everybody, like Edie said, Electoral College is non-partisan. So we're not telling you to join a particular political party, no, but you should belong to a political party of your choice, all right? So political parties are one of the vehicles of propagating politeracy. In our subsequent classes, I think next week, we're going to have a full class on political parties and structure. So I'm not going to delve too much into that. But for the purpose of your assignments and all that, you should know that when it comes to political parties, we have three types of primaries. We have the direct, we have the indirect, and then we have the consensus, right? So the consensus is when all the members of the party agree that, okay, this is going to be our flag bearer. It's a unison agreement. And then the direct is when, they do the voting and all that, and everyone is allowed, every member is allowed to participate and vote for who they want to be the flag bearer. While the indirect is where we have the delegate system, like we saw in the last election. So those are the main three ways of conducting primaries. This is for your information, because definitely when you're shared into political parties, you need to go over all those assignments. So this is just to give you a brief info about that. And also one thing I would like to differentiate that a lot of Nigerians makes a mistake on is aspirants and candidates. I think it was when I also, it It was when I encountered electoral college, I was able to tell the difference. A lot of Nigerians use them interchangeably, but they are not. They are actually completely different. So an aspirant is someone that's, aspires, like the name says, aspires for an office. So for example, okay, I want to run for governor, I want to run for presidency. That's an aspirant. And then a candidate is the one that has gone through the primaries of his or her political party, that has run and has won, and therefore is a flag bearer of that party. So that's the difference between aspirants and candidates. So if you don't get anything from this class, at least get that differentiation today. Aspirants is the person that aspires, that wants to run, that has shown an interest, while a candidate is the person that has run and won primaries in his or her political party and has become the flag bearer. Okay, so next, methods for propagating politeracy, we have media. The media is a very important tool in propagating politeracy. We have the traditional media, the radio, the TV, the print, newspapers and all that. Those are traditional media. And then we have the new media, which is the social media, your Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and all that. That's the evolving media, the social media and all that. So these are also very important ways of propagating politeracy. For a long time, the traditional media has not done so much justice, but these days it's getting better, at least with people, with organizations like Electoral College were helping to rewrite that aspect, with all the politeracy courses that we do online, on radio and all that. So we're trying to also infiltrate the media so that that can be used as an avenue, like it should be, for propagating political literacy. Charlie, please, can I have the next slide? Thank you. Oh, okay, sorry. There's one more, engagements. Yes, engagement is also very important. What do we mean by engagement? We have things like town hall meetings, engaging the average man on the streets, engaging schools, engaging communities. All these things help to propagate political literacy, right? So engagement is also a method for propagating political literacy. Charlie, please, can I have the next slide? Thank you. Okay, so we move straight to governance. Governance is the way and manner the power is exercised in the management of a country's human, material, and economic resources. The way and manner power is exercised. That's the key word. So basically, governance is the exercising of power, the way you manage the human resources, the economic resources of a place, of a people, when you've been elected into office, right? So that's what governance is about. And then we have different arms of governance. We have the legislative, we have the executive, and of course, we have the judiciary. And for this three arms, we have the appointed, and then we have the elected. The elected are the ones that, you go to the polling booths to vote in, while the appointed are those that are appointed, like the word says. So for the federal level, the tiers of government, the federal, we have, for the appointed, we have appointed and elected executives and legislators. So for the elected executives, you have the president and the vice. Those are the ones that are elected, that you go and then you vote. While the appointed ones are your DGs, your executive secretaries, your chairman of parastatals and all that, the ministers. Those are the appointed executives. And then for legislative, under the federal level, we have, of course, the House of Rep and the senators. The House of Rep, the 360 members, and they're called the green chambers, and then the senators are the ones that are the red chambers, and we have 109 of them. So those are the legislatives. And then we go down to the states. For the states, the elected, we have the deputy and the governor, the deputy governor and the governor. And then for the appointed, we also have the chairman, the SAs, the executive secretaries, commissioners, and all that. That's for the state level. And then for legislative, under the state level, we have the State House of Assembly. And then going down to the local governments, we have the elected executives, which are the local government chairman and his deputy. Yes. And then for the legislative, for the appointed executives, we also have, the secretaries of health, education, and all that, all those secretaries, the PAs, the SAs, those are the appointed executives under the local government. And then for the legislative, we have the councillors, which are a type of the House of Assembly for the local governments, yes. So all the courses, like I said, we're going to look at them in depth. For example, tomorrow, we're going to be having a course with Professor Hamidu, and that's strictly on local government. So we're going to delve really deep into these different aspects. We're also going to have a course on executive with our executive director. Yes, so all those things, we're going to still look at them in depth. Today is just like a laying of the foundation. It's just an introductory class. Okay, so next, we go to the next slide, how to achieve good governance. The first is proper representation. Proper representation is very, very important because the truth is that for a long time, and even up till now, there's such a gap between those in the office, those that are elected into the offices, political offices, and the average man. So when we don't have proper representation, there's a divide. Those up there, they don't know what the average person on the street is going through. They don't know their desires. They don't know what they desire the governor, the president. They don't know what they desire the whole arm, of governance to do for them. So when we have proper representation, when I'm talking about proper representation, I mean, we have enough people from the youths, we have women, we have, proper representation of the country as a whole, the different parts of the country, so that there's a bridging of the gap of what the elected officers think that is happening and what is actually happening. So proper representation is very important to ensure and achieve good governance. The next is decentralization. Decentralization, the executive director is always preaching this, let's have more decentralization. The truth is that Nigeria is a large country. We're over 100 million, and it makes sense that there's a separation of power. Decentralization just means that, the power in the middle is separated. It's not congealed in the middle. It's not just one place from one person. It's broken down into bits and pieces. And he likes using this as an example, like having the local government police. And that makes sense because in other countries, we hear of things like county police and all that. So these things will help to ensure that the communities, everyone has a feel of the governance. Everyone has a feel of the effects of what is being done. So that's the importance of decentralization. We have the whole local government autonomy bill that's, the whole back and forth, and, it wasn't passed, but that will also help because when the states, the state accounts and the local government accounts is divided, so that the local governments have the direct access to their own accounts. The bill was saying that local governments should have their own local government allocation accounts and not have it joined with the states like the FAC, so that to help them to be able to do things on their own autonomy, and then the states will not have to be intruding in a lot of things and siphoning the funds that are meant for the development of the local government, into the state's treasuries and into, individual pockets. So that's the importance of decentralization for good governance. Okay, and then the next we have the level playing field. Let there be a level playing field. Let the dictates of the country of what governance is not just be in the hands of a few people. Let everyone have a say. Let everyone be adequately, let their mind, let them have what they desire. Let it be level for everybody. That's very important for good governance. When the executive director, he ran for office, in 2019, and when he was running, he was as normal as could be. He told us of how he should be walking on the streets, and people will be wondering, like, you're a candidate and you're just walking normally, you don't have an entourage, but that's how it's supposed to be. You're supposed to be accessible to the average man. You're governing the people that you don't have access to. That's not governance. So there should be a level playing field where everybody knows that my voice is heard and what I want. Democracy is actually a government of the people, by the people, for the people, right? So it's supposed to represent the people. So level playing field is very important for good governance. Okay, after that, we have the rule of law. This talks about the general understanding of governance, of the Constitution. A lot of us do not even know what the Constitution says. So if you don't know what it says, how do you want to know what to expect? How do you want to know what to demand? For example, are you aware that your chairman can actually be recalled? Yes, your local government chairman can be recalled as long as there's more than half of the votes that they were used to be sworn into office. So for example, let's say 8,000 people voted the local government chairman. And then if you want to recall him, the 50% of 8,000 is 4,000. So 4,000 plus one. Once you have 4,000 on one person, you have their signatories and all that, you can recall your local government chairman. Yes. But a lot of us do not know this. We do not hold them accountable. In fact, a lot of us don't even know our local government chairman to even begin with. So that's where the problem lies. If we do not hold these people accountable, it's going to be business as usual. So the rule of law is very important. And then we have planning. Planning is very important for good governance. The way you have to plan for yourself is the way a country has to be planned for. You should not get to the seat before you know what to do. We've been singing Vision 2020 for years now, and we've still not achieved it. We're still way, way behind. In fact, we've not even started. So planning is very important. The census that was supposed to be carried out was put on hold, and census is supposed to be done like every 10 years, according to the Constitution. The last time we had a census was 16 years ago. And the one that was supposed to be done, was put on hold again. So how do you want to plan properly if all these things are not put in place? So planning is very important for good governance. And then educated electorates. Educated electorate, this point cannot be overemphasized. The average in Nigeria does not know up to 10% of what governance and politics entails. And this is where electoral college comes in to bridge the gap, right? So once we have more electorate that are educated about these things, you see that governance become easier because we know what to expect. We know what to demand. We know what those that we are electing into office are supposed to do. And when we're able to hold them accountable, then they're going to step up and do what they should do. There's an example that one of the facilitators usually gives when she's taking her course. And she says that when Nigerians go abroad, they behave. They don't break traffic rules. They don't run red lights. Why? Because there's a law that is in place there. People are held accountable. I hope you can hear me. It's raining here, but I hope I'm still very audible. People are held accountable. You cannot just run a red light and go scot-free. So even though you're a Nigerian, when you get there, you're going to advise yourself and do the right thing. So the question is not that we cannot do the right thing. We can. It's just that there's nobody to hold us accountable. Sometimes we don't even know what it is. And then when we know it and we break it, there's no one to hold us accountable. So accountability is very important. Being educated, being educated politically, which is the politeracy that we offer, is very important. So that's why this course is something that you should take very, very important. Okay, please, can I have the next slide? Okay, so now we go to enhancing governance. What are the ways for us to enhance governance? The first one is participation. Like I mentioned earlier, participation goes beyond, I have my PVC. Yes, it's good, it's awesome, The last election, it was great, the way people were all out and everybody was, get your PVC. But it doesn't end there. It shouldn't even start there. It should start from you joining a political party. When you join a political party and you start participating in the process that even brings the person that is supposed to be on the ballot paper to the fore, then that is when you know that, okay, yes, I have a say in this thing. Because the truth is, if we have 5 people that are not worthy and yet they are the ones running, then your PVC is useless because you're just voting between the devil and the deep blue sea. So, but when we start participating by joining political parties, and we start, offering to even run for offices, that's when we can say, okay, yes, participation is at an all-time high. So it's not just about PVC. Become more participatory, join political parties, know what is happening. Hold your local government chairman accountable. All these things are part of participation. The second is solution-oriented mechanisms. You know, in Nigeria, a lot of times it's like this proverb that says that, you know, you're closing the door when the horse has already left the stable. Closing the door after the horse has left the stable. You know, a proverb that says something like that, an idiom that says that. So we're usually doing salvage. We're usually in salvage mode. We do not plan ahead. We do not think ahead. We do not put things in place before they become bad. It's when they become bad that we now try to salvage it. Okay, for example, the fuel subsidy. You know, it was so sudden, and it was after it had been put out and a lot of persons were feeling the heat. That was when a lot of things were now being put in place to serve as palliatives, you know, to cushion the effects and all that. But these are things that we should have thought ahead of and put in place before even rolling out some of these things. So for us to really have good governance, we have to be solution-oriented. We do not think about the solution after the problem is already, you know, blown out of proportion. We should come up with a solution even before the problem is foreseen. Okay, so next, after that, we have financially unattractive offices. This one is a major reason why we do not have good governance, because the motives of a lot of persons are just to go and partake of the national cake. A lot of politicians just want to get into the office for what they can get. They are not there to serve. They are not there to, you know, benefit the average man. They are not there to even benefit the country. They are not there for the good of the country. They are looking for, how can I settle myself, you know? So when we start having financially unattractive offices, it's going to help curtail those that are going there for the wrong reasons. For example, the basic for a senator is like 650,000 per month, you know? But when we now add allowances and all that, it goes up to as much as 48 million per month. So would you be surprised that everyone is doing everything that they can just to get into the office because of the benefits? It might not be necessarily because they want to improve the lives of the people in their constituency. It might not be because they want to serve the country, but because of the financial, you know, attraction. So by the time we start having financial unattractive offices, it's going to do us a lot of good. I'm sure we are all aware of the billions of naira that were spent for furniture and making, you know, sometimes it's just amazing. It's amazing. I know we also saw the viral video that went across the whole place about the bonuses, you know, that were dropped in accounts. So all these things, it does not help, because at the end of the day, a lot of people are just going there to get what they can and to bleed the country further. But when we have financially unattractive offices, it separates those that really want to serve from those that are just there for the gain. And then we also have understanding by the electorates, you know, of elected office jurisdictions and powers. Like I said earlier, if the electorates are ignorant about a lot of things, we're going to let a lot of things slide. But when we start becoming politically literate, just imagine a local government chairman knowing that if he messes up, he's going to be recalled. Do you know how he's going to be on top of his game? Yes, but a lot of us, I'm sure we're just hearing it for the first time, that you can actually recall a local government chairman. Like, they do not have immunity. You can recall them, you know, and that's the first handshake of democracy. Like my ED will always say, the local government is the first handshake of democracy. So when we can get it right at that level, you see that it will be like a snowball effect, and eventually it's going to help even at the higher levels. So understanding the jurisdiction of powers, I'm sure some of us also do not know that the president does not have the right to pass bills. No, That's the work of the National Assembly. They're the ones that pass bill, the legislatives. They're the ones that pass the bill. They're the ones that propose bills and all that. So the president, yes, he might have an opinion, but he does not have the right to say, okay, this is the bill, that I want. He does not have the right to propose a bill. So when we understand this, when we understand the different jurisdiction, when we understand the separation of powers, it's going to help and it's going to enhance good governance. And then so, there's a quote by Abigail that says that, Abigail Spanberger, she says that public servants should be focused on serving the public without any special interest. And good governance should be an expectation, not an exception. Good governance should be an expectation, not an exception. Most of the time, let's say roads are being built in the States, we feel like, oh my goodness, we feel like it's such an awesome thing. No, it's the expectation. That is what is supposed to be done. All those things, the amenities being provided, are what you should expect of those that you have elected into office. It should not be something that is a privilege. It's not a privilege. The privilege is they being there to serve. They are there to serve the normal man, the average Nigerian. So the privilege is them being given that opportunity to serve the common man. So it's not a privilege that they are doing what they are supposed to do. It's not a privilege that they are providing amenities. It's not. It should be the expectation. It's not an exception. It's amazing how, we hail a lot of elected officials because they just do little and we feel so privileged, like, oh my God, he's working. It's because things are not as they should be. That is supposed to be the norm. Anything outside that should be something that should be called into question. But because we've been, subjected to the barest minimum, anything above average is something that, we all come out and celebrate. But that should not be it. Good governance should be the expectation. It should be the least. It should be the minimum standard, not an exception. So thank you very much. This is just a brief intro to the whole course. Like I said, we're going to delve deeper into all of these topics as the course progresses. But I want to advise you, please take your attendance very seriously. Take your participation very seriously. Make sure that you're in class. Make sure that you participate when you get shared into the different political groups and parties. All right. So yes, I'll stop here now. If you have any questions, please, you can just go ahead. Thank you very much. So if you have questions, Charlie, I think you can help me with that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, DED. That was very insightful. I'm very sure we are gingered and ready for this course. So if you have questions, you can actually type that on the chat box or raise your hands up and then I unmute you to ask. Okay, I have Omar Jemwe. I've asked you to unmute. You can ask your question. Hello, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. You can go ahead.
Okay, thank you for that brilliant exposition. You mentioned something about local government and police. Do you really think Nigeria is ripe for that? Because the way Nigeria is now is like we use every person available for position. So do we really think Nigeria is ripe? Is it not when we have established democracy that we can institute local and state government police? That is my question. That's my thought also. Then you talk about the legislature has power. Legislative arm has power to make a bill. I don't know. I think we have an executive bill which comes from the executive arm of government. Can you please elucidate on that so that we can be clearer on it also? Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. Who was that? Sorry, I didn't get the name. But okay, for the first question that you asked, we already have state police. So we have the state government police. So, but if we were talking about the local government police, yes, I think, that is something that can be achievable, even at this point in time. Yes. And for the executive bill that you mentioned, it still has to go through the legislature. So it's still something that's, the president cannot just stand up and decide and pass it. It still has to go through them. So like I said, proposing bills and all lies with the National Assembly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe your question was answered. So this is just the introductory part of the course. So I believe every question you should ask should be just within the introduction, because you still have more courses that will still run through them. So I believe questions should just run through the introduction. Thank you very much. So I will ask Aina David to unmute. You can go ahead and ask your question. Thank you.
Good evening, and thanks for the wonderful presentation. My question is more of like a clarification where you're explaining a level playing ground. My network was so breaking, so I could not understand clearly what you were explaining. Can you please help me to shed more light on that? Thank you.
Okay, when I talk about level playing field, what I mean is that power should not just be decision making for the country and for the things that go on, should not just be invested in a few. It should be that everyone has a say. Like I said, it's a democracy, it's government for the people, by the people, So it should be that everyone has a say. Power should not just be accumulated or coagulated to just a particular set of people. Like we see in some states where it seems that it just goes around a particular sect of people, and they are just the whole godfatherism and all that. So that's what I mean by level playing field. And everyone has a say, and everyone, your voice is heard. You have the rights, you have the authority, for the things that you desire to be seen, to actually be achieved. Yes, so that's basically what it means, level playing field. Everyone is represented, everyone has a voice, and everyone's point is valid. Yes, so power is not just a few persons that are making the decisions on behalf of more than 100 million people. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I believe your question was answered. So Atiba Adiriran, I've asked you to unmute. You can go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thanks for the section. My question goes this way. First, you talked about elected executive and appointed executive. But in the case of the judiciary, you did not give examples, and the legislator. That's one. Two, you make reference to community police. Now the question is, the present police and the policing system we have, is it of the advantage to the citizens? Are they responsible, or are they accountable, being held accountable by the citizens? Because these are the questions that we need to first solve before looking at the community policing of a thing. But if we look at the history of the establishment of the entity called policing system, was it created based on they having impact on the citizens, or it is meant to protect few wealthy persons? Thank you.
Sorry, I did not get the last question. Thank you again. I got the one about judiciary, and then you talked about, please, can you just come again? Sorry.
Yeah, the second question was talking about having community policing. And I'm asking that of what benefits is of the existing one, that is the police system on itself. Are they, or do they give accounts to the people, or they give account to few wealthy persons in the society?
Okay, for the police, you're asking you're asking what is the use of the walls you have on the ground. Their use is to protect, the citizen. Yeah, it's just that even the police apparatus is one. A lot of them are even diverted. We have governors that are using state police for their own personal convoy and all that, which is not to be. So the state's police, the police in general, they have to protect the citizen, basically. So that's their job, even though it's not very effective at the moment. But yes, that's their job. That's their job function. And for the breaking down the decentralization, that's we are saying that what would be the use of it? Well, it's going to help because they are going to cover lesser areas. So for example, when each local government has its own police apparatus, it's easier. There are some local governments that I can assure you that we do not have police officers. I can assure you there are some local governments that you enter that it's probably just, the Yambangas and just people of the area that have just taken up that security responsibility, but they do not have any police attached to them, So that's what's going to be the use if we have local government police. At least we know that every local government is protected. They have their own police apparatus. So that's for the police question. And then for the judiciary, yes, you're right. I actually do not touch about that. The judiciary are the country's court system, basically. The Supreme Court, the Court of Appeals, the High Court, the magistrates and all that. Those are the judiciary. They're the ones that interpret the law, they protect civil rights, they decide cases, they are the guardians of the Constitution and all that. Like I said, a lot of this aspects are going to be looked into in depth. Yeah, they have their own classes. We have a whole class dedicated to just the judiciary. So you're going to know everything you need to know about that. Yes, but suffice to say, they are the court system of the country. Yes, so those were the two questions I was able to get. Was there any other one you asked? I can see a lot of hands up. Like I said, today is just an introductory class. A lot of questions that you have, I'm sure before the course is over, we're going to have classes that answer that, but you can still go ahead and ask, and we still have time. So for the last person that asked the question, please, did I answer all your questions? If I didn't, please let me know which one I missed.
Okay. So Tabet, I've asked you to unmute. Go ahead with your question.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yeah, my question is concerning the local government autonomy for giving the local government chairman the power to use their finance direct from the federal government, not through the fact. Is that I want to ask, does the president don't have a legitimate power on that aspect to give that or that law so that it will be bind? Because if we say we want to follow through the legislatives from the House of Assembly down to the National Assembly there, I don't think that will come to be a reality, because if we observe what is happening in Nigeria as it is some people that have been in governance, like a governor, will be our same people there that are senators. So they cannot accept that. That is why you see most of the states are using the local government fund and using projects for themselves, making names for themselves. Whereas most local government now cannot boast of even a culvert, a culvert of 100 meters. It will be difficult. You see a governor of a state doing either a construction of road or anything. And in another way, we have to look at it in two ways. These local government are the one closer to the people, but we realize the fact that the governors are not willing to allow this thing to be. And seeing a governor, there are people that will stay for 8 years. They did not even know who is the governor of our state, and he cannot even come to their place. But a chairman is somebody that is living within the people, and always they are always seeing him. So I don't know where we can be able to begin to make that thing maybe either a hashtag, because we tried it last year as one of the CSO in Kaduna State, which we try it to make sure that so many states come together to vote for yes. We visited our state legislative House of Assembly to make sure that they answer yes to this thing. But at the end of the day, we realized that some states, even governors, took money and give the House of Assembly, which they turned that this thing upside down and it becomes no. So I think that is a serious problem. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you so much, Tabat. Well, like I said, the president does not have the sole right, to just pass it. Last year, the bill was passed, but it was proposed, but it did not scale through because majority of votes are needed. You need at least 2/3 of the states of assembly, and we have 36 states, so we need at least 24, and that did not sail through. So the president does not have the sole right. That's the use of separation of powers. If the president had the sole right to do a lot of things, then it won't be a democracy because you have too much power invested in him. Yes, so that's why separation of powers ensue. So it can be both an advantage and it can be both a disadvantage. And in this case, the president does not have, the right to just pass it. He does not even have the right to, pass the bill across. That's the work of the legislative, like I said. And once at least 2/3 of them do not agree of the State House of Assemblies, then that bill cannot go into effect. So until we have people there that do believe in this, in fact, the last one, even Lagos State, was against it, which is supposed to be the biggest state, in the country and all that. So until we have people that are in those places of authority that really want to do the right thing and that really believe in that, then we're just probably going to be going around the circle. That's the truth. I saw an interesting question in the chat box. Someone was asking that, is there no way that they can push for the reduction of salaries and all that? Well, the truth is that when it comes to all those things, the National Assembly are the ones in charge of paying the National Assembly. So you can imagine, except we have people like the ED that is there that wants to do the right thing, and other people that have the interests of the country at heart that are there, then there's really not much we can do, because if they're the ones that are making the rules, of course, they will always make the rules to favor themselves. So I was going to the chat and I saw that in the chat box. So next question.
Okay, thank you very much, Zidi. So Promise Obodo, I've asked you to unmute. You can go ahead with your question.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, please.
All right, thank you. My question is drawn from your analysis of the judicial, the executive and the legislature at the federal level, the state and local government. You said the senators and the National Assembly, they are similar to the state house of and the local government level will have this. I'm asking the councillors impeach or remove the local government chairman the same way the state house of assemblies and the national assemblies can impeach the governors and the president respectively. Just this introductory class, is there any way we can reduce the amount of money needed for election in this country, from sales of party tickets to campaigns, organization, and all. At least this will also enhance or encourage a level playing field. Those from the low income strata can actually participate. That's my question. Thank you.
Okay, let me start from the last question, whether the cost of going into politics can be reduced. Well, the truth is politics is expensive anywhere in the world, but especially in Nigeria. This is because when you're running for offices, when you're running for an office, there are a lot of things that come into place. First, the sale of the form is already a high amount. And then after that, campaigning costs a lot. After that, you probably need to, bruise the hands, or how do we oil the palms, of some few persons, just for their support. For example, you need campaigning when they come and all that. You probably just give them a thank you kind of thing. Politics is expensive anywhere in the world. It's very expensive. So reducing the costs, well, I don't think it's something that can just be passed as a bill. It's not, they cannot just say that, okay, the money you spend for politics should not be less than, it's all these things that come into play that make it very expensive. But like we said in the slide, if offices can become financially unattractive, it will make a lot of people drop out of the game. A lot of people would not want to participate. So when we have lesser people participating, the competition will be less stiff. It will be people that really want to do the work that will volunteer to want to do it. So if, it's like the law of demand and supply in economics. When there are less people that want to go for something or want to maybe vie for a position, that competition is not so stiff. So the money you need to spend to even get there will not be so high. So I think one of the ways would be when those offices stop being like a do or die business for everybody. Because when everybody wants to get there, then you have to do more than the average person for your voice to be heard. You have to, if you want to campaign, you have to go to the grassroots, you have to do everything you can, to reach a lot of persons, because there are also other people that are also campaigning, right? So I think it should actually start from the fact that we are more focused on governance, good governance, than what people will gain when they enter those offices. By the time we have those, then I believe that even the cost of running for office is going to reduce. But as long as people know that when they get there, they are going to recoup all the money that they spent during elections, then they are not going to leave any stone unturned to make sure that they do all they can, including bribing of delegates, just to get into office, right? So I think it should actually be that we start from making the offices financially unattractive. That way, you're going to see a lot of people that are just there for the financial gains out of it. And once that is done, the average man that just wants to serve his country, will stand a better chance at getting into office. I hope that answers your question.
Okay, thank you very much, Didi. I believe your question was answered. So GD, I've asked you to unmute and ask your question.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Yes, we can.
Can you hear me?
Please go ahead.
Hello.
We can hear you.
We can hear you.
All right, thank you. Let me start this way. It's a privilege to be a part of this project, and I'm hoping that at the end of the day, great lessons will be learned. Meanwhile, we've been trying to see how we can be able to, let some of our demands come to light. Series of questions have been asked, Is there a way we can do that? Is there a way we can do that? I think that if there are ways we can actually do that while this class is ongoing, then we should start putting it into practice so that we can see it yield result. My question is, how can we effectively achieve a worthwhile protest whenever we feel aggrieved of certain policies that does not favor the common man? You know, for instance, the fuel subsidy is there. We are actually suffering it. Just yesterday, trying to go to work. Sorry, I live around Abuja. So trying to go to work, I got to the roadside only to realize that the coastal buses that usually pick us are no longer there. I mean, like they just decided that they wanted to go on protest because certain parks keep asking them for ticket fee and all of that. And it wasn't easy on us because like I stood on the road. It's been a long time I had this experience. I stood on the road for over 30 minutes. I couldn't see a car going to work. Not until I had to take Keke Napep to a certain place, Popular Junction. Then was high. Certain people were carrying, where something you pay like just 300 naira, 400 naira, somebody will tell you 1,600, 800, and it's quite annoying. So the thing is, sometimes this government bring up some policies that do not favor everyone. So are there actions that we can actually take as youth who are quite elite, understand the media and how we can actually drive home a lesson? If there are ways we can actually do that, I think we should begin to look at them and then begin to put them into practice. Then let's see what we can achieve. So that's just my question. How can we effectively achieve a worthwhile protest? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, GB1. Okay, I wouldn't want to go much into that because there's a whole class that is dedicated to that. And Busayo, he's going to take that, and I'm sure you're going to enjoy the class a lot. It has a lot of energy. So there's a whole class dedicated to that, how you can use advocacy and policy influencing. That's the name of the class, advocacy and policy influencing. So I'll beg your indulgence to just be patient so that you're going to get the full gist of how to use advocacy, to influence policies and to make a change. Yes. But yes, it is possible. It is possible. But you're going to have a whole class just dedicated to that. And I trust that Messiah will do justice. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Dee. So we have some questions in the chat box. I'll just read through. I have a question from Ibukun Lawal. He says, I have always thought that the current system in Nigeria political space only allow indigents as a criteria to run for an elective office. What law or part of the constitution support Nigerians to run in any state of his or her choice for an elective office? Didi, did you get that?
Okay, yes, I did. She was talking about internship, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, yes. This is one of the things that we say that a lot of us do not even know what the Constitution says. So when you don't even know what it says, how do you want to start? You cannot even make a stand. Like the executive director will always say, the Constitution is supposed to be like your Bible. It's supposed to be the Bible of the Nigerian. You're supposed to know what it says. You're supposed to read it true and true. So yes, it is contained there, that you can actually run anywhere. I'm not sure of the particular section right now, but I can assure you that it's contained there. Yes, for example, the executive director, like I said, he ran for office, for senatorial office in 2019, and he's not from Abuja, and he ran for it in Abuja. So yes, it is very valid.
Okay, thank you very much. Ibukun, I believe your question was answered. Okay, I have another question from Philip Bushitu. He says, I actually haven't seen my chairman in person. How do I go about with due respect and in a diplomatic way? Did you get that?
Sorry, please, can you come again? I think it was breaking.
Okay. He says, I actually haven't seen my chairman in person. How do I go about with due respect and in a diplomatic way?
Okay, first you have to know where your local government, house is. So that's where their offices are. So you can just go there, and I wouldn't know what the protocol is, though, if the security will allow you to see him. If you do have a valid reason, I'm sure they would. Yes, if you do have a valid reason. But at least you should try, make an effort. Even know, your local government chairman to even start with. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And then Promise said, my second question wasn't answered. Can councillors impeach or remove local governments? I think that should be chairman. Same way state assemblies and national assemblies can impeach governors and presidents respectively.
No. The councillors cannot. The councillors cannot. They can just be recalled, like I said, with at least half of the people that voted for them. But the councillors do not have the power to just remove them. Because, for example, the state and the federal level, they have immunity. So the average Nigerian cannot recall them. That's why that power is vested on the National Assembly. But for the local governments, they do not have immunity. So you and I can actually, sign and petition against them and remove them. So the power is invested in us in that case.
Okay, thank you very much, Ma. And then the last question I can see here, it says, how do we achieve the goal of making political offices unattractive? Does this lie with the legislature or the populace? If we say legislature, legislators benefit from the same extravagancy. How likely is it that they will buy into this?
Exactly. I think this was the question I answered earlier that caught my attention. Where I was saying that they are the ones that make the laws. They are the ones that pay themselves. So until we have the people that want to do the right thing there, until we have the people that are there for the good of the people, then it's going to be a long shot. That's why we are always advising participation. We're always advising representation. We're always advising everyone to start being involved in politics. Because at the end of the day, if you're not involved, then whoever is governing you, whatever comes, you just have to take it that way. So I think I answered that question earlier. The power lies in them. They're the ones, making the rules and paying themselves. So until we have the right people that want to do the right thing there, it still might be a long shot.
Okay, thank you very much, ma'am. Okay, we have one question from Amos. Amos, I've asked you to unmute. Go ahead with your question.
Okay, thank you very much. You can hear me. It's raining so much over here that I am just struggling to follow. But I have a question. My question is closely related to the one she just answered. And you talk about recalling our local government chairman. What then becomes a situation whereby most of the time the governors of the state kind of select this local government chairman in the name of either caretaker or whatever the case. Most times we don't even hold local government elections, okay? And the state governors put these people in place. How do we recall such people? Because in the first place, we don't vote for them and they are not doing our duty. That's my question.
Okay, the answer still remains the same. As long as you have 50% plus one of the voting, then they can be recalled. Local government chairmen are not appointed; they're actually elected. It's an elected office, so you don't just appoint them. It's just that maybe you were not participating or you did not know when he held, and then you did not participate in the voting process. If not, it's against the constitution for them to be appointed. It's not an appointed office; it's an elected office. So they were actually voted in. And the same way they were voted in is the same way they can also be recalled. But the truth is that there are a lot of things that should be but are not, in the nation at the moment. We have a lot of laws and rules that are contained in the Constitution but are not being practiced. But we're giving you what should be. We're giving you what is obtainable and what the standard should be here. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Didi, for answering all our questions. And I believe as we go further with more courses, we'll enjoy more and get more insights on every question asked. Because for each question asked, there is a class designated for it all. We have local governments, which will be tomorrow. We have legislature, we have the executive and all of that, just as how it was mentioned earlier. So thank you very much, Didi, for the introduction. That was very insightful, and we are actually now ready to dive into the course. So thank you, everyone. I believe our questions were all answered. Okay. So thank you, everyone, for coming out for class today. We'll still have our next class tomorrow. Yes, our next class will be tomorrow. So I'm going to ask us all to unmute and say a big thank you to our DED before we close for the evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
We love and celebrate
Thank
you,
you very
ma.
much for
Thank
the
you.
session.
Ma'am, we
Thank you all.
appreciate
Thank you
you.
all.
Thank you so much.
Thank
Look
you
forward
so
to having
much.
you
Thank you
all.
so much.
so
It's a
much.
privilege.
We
It's
deeply
factored on it.
appreciate.
Thank
Thank you very
you.
much. It's a privilege.
Thank you
Thank
so
you so
much.
much. Thank you so much.
Welcome, you're welcome.
Thank you so much. Very much for this.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you
Appreciate you.
so much.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Didi, and see you all tomorrow. Good night, everyone.